Hi, my name's Ken Colby. I'm the author of Green Screen Wizard. Today we're going to talk about Green Screen Wizard Pro Batch and Event. Now I'm going to make two videos, one about the batch part and the other about the event part. But both features are available when you pay the extra $50 to go from Green Screen Wizard Pro Studio to Green Screen Wizard Pro Batch and Event. Now the batch features the batch version has everything that the Pro Studio has, but it also has an additional icon, this batch icon. And these are the extra features that you get with batch. You get an email capability, a batch sort, obviously batch printing, and of course event mode. So this video is going to concentrate on the first four items, and we'll start with email. Now it's very convenient to send emails to people with a picture attached. That way you don't have to have a printer, and a lot of people like a digital copy of the image anyways. They don't really want to print. So this is a way that you can satisfy that need and send email to anybody. Now in version 7.0 we've actually made this email feature a little better, and we do what's called background processing. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But let's get started setting it up. So before you enter your email information, you have to set up your server. In my case, I go to Roadrunner, and I have a username, and usually it's port 25. So this is the same information that you would put in your email system if you have Entourage or any of the other email systems by Microsoft. And if you're not sure how to do this, then you need to call up a support system, a support person, or whoever is your internet provider. They should have this information. It's called your SMTP host, your password, and your name and your password. So this is kind of difficult for people to fill out, but once you get it done, you're done. Okay, now you can send email. So you say you enter a from address and a to address, basically the title and the text. And now you just hit send mail. When you hit send mail, you should see the mail to send button go up, or count go up one. So there we go, we're sending mail. Now notice this is taking a long time. In the past you had to wait for that. But now, because we're doing background processing, you can just send email after email. Now that's not so important when you're just using the email system by itself. But when you're in event mode and you have people standing in line and you want to send a bunch of emails, it's very convenient to send an email, do a print, do the next person, and not have to wait for that email delay. Okay? So we have a couple other things that we can do. Well, first of all, let's take a look at the email that we sent. It should be here somewhere. There we go. So this is the email the person would have gotten or received. It says basically, thank you for going to the ball. It has the email or the image as an attachment. And I probably didn't mention this, but the email that it sends is, or I'm sorry, the image that it sends is basically the active image. So whatever you're seeing on the screen here, that's what's going to be sent. It makes a copy of it and saves it in the mail to send folder. And let's take a look at those folders for a second. So the new mail system has three folders. It has mail to send, that's where Green Screen Wizard copies it. Once the mail is sent, it's copied into the mail sent folder. If for some reason the mail fails to send because you're not connected to the internet, it'll be put in this mail failed to send. And these are all located in your Green Screen Wizard folder that's in your My Documents area. This is created by the installer of Green Screen Wizard 7. Now, one of the cool things is let's say that you go someplace and you don't have an internet connection. Well, everything will fail to send, but that's okay, because what will happen is you can come home and you can say resend failed emails, and then it'll send them all. Okay. You can also create an email list of all the items that you sent, and take a look at that. My email list isn't very exciting, but it's basically would just be the email addresses of all the people that you sent emails to. And that file, email list.txt, is put into the sent email folder. So it basically goes through all the sent emails and creates that list for you. And that way, if you want to mail them later, you can. So that's all the features of the new emailing system. It's very powerful. It's very nice. The only thing you have to be careful about is if you've got a lot of mail to send, you got to leave Green Screen Wizard running so it can send it. Or you have to come back later and try to do a resend failed mail. Because until that background process finishes, you shouldn't really quit out of Green Screen Wizard. All right, so that's emailing. And like I said, this will be more important when we get to the event mode. So let's go to batch sort. What's that all about? Well, one of the problems people have is they shoot horizontal and vertical photos. Let's take a look at a folder, which I conveniently have. These are some of the images I use for the demo. And you can see some of them are horizontal and most of them are vertical. Here's another horizontal one. Now we call this landscape and portrait. And the problem is when you do a batch, you want everybody to kind of be in the same orientation. So the orientation is quite different if you're doing a horizontal photo. So rather than trying to come up with a lot of difficult rules, I basically added this batch sort feature. What it will do is it'll sort all your images into two folders, a landscape folder and a portrait folder. And then you can run the batch file on either one of those. And now you're running a batch file on all horizontal pictures or all vertical pictures. So let's take a look at that doing its thing here. So we need to select an image folder. And this thing is actually pretty buried, but we'll find it. Main storage, digital images, Green Screen Wizard demos. Where did that go? There it is. Okay. And then we say sort. Okay. And there you go, all done. So it sorted 36 images and put 33 in the portrait folder and 3 in the landscape folder. So let's take a look. So see, these two folders are new. So here's the portrait folder. Everybody's in portrait mode. And here's the landscape folder, all in landscape mode. So if you're going to run a batch, you'd run two batches, one on the landscape and one on the portrait side. I'm just going to, well, I'll leave them. Okay, so back to Green Screen Wizard. All right, so now batch will basically combine your images automatically. Now the most common thing you want to do is you want to combine this, you want to take your main image and you would like to use different foregrounds in it. So you can pick your background, put text on, put overlays in, whatever you need to do, and then just run the batch given a folder of images. Now one of the things that people tend to do is they say, well, I'll specify a background folder with a single image in. I wouldn't really do that. If you're not going to do multiple images, you're better off with no background folder at all. Okay, so let's run this first. So specify, we actually already specified, but I'll specify it again. So we're going to take the images from sample photos. And there's 4 in there. And then we're just going to clear history and it says we need to create 4 folders, and we can start the batch. Now, where's the output going to go? Well, it's going to go to Green Screen Wizard batch output, but you can put it anywhere you want. Okay? And before, well, let's just run it. So now you can see it's going through. It's kind of like running gallery, but a little faster. Okay, there you go, we're all done. Now if we go to that folder, let's see, that's not it. You see here's the batch output. We have Amber, Leo, opening. Okay, so that's all there is to that. So let's delete that so we don't get confused when we do it next time. Okay, but what if we do something more complicated? What if we do specify a background folder? Green Screen Wizard, backgrounds, here we go, backgrounds, demo. Okay, and again we're going to clear the history. Now we're going to have 32 images created, and the reason for that is we're going to do all of the foreground images with all of the background images. And now we have a choice. Well, how are we going to name these files? Well, by default what Green Screen Wizard does is it combines the image names. So for example, if this one is called first photo and the background is called fireplace, it'll be first background fireplace. Okay. The other thing we could do is we could just number the files. We don't want to. We want some nice tidy thing. Boom, it'll just number the files. But the split by file name is another interesting thing. A lot of people want to preserve their original file names because they have these systems built around it. What split by file name does is it basically creates a folder for every background. So every image would be put into a fireplace background or a blue background. So you'd have the blue background folder, and inside that you'd have 4 images all with a blue background. Okay. Now you can normally I output JPEGs. If you're doing transparent output, then you want to output things as PNG, or it won't save it. It'll save it only with a white background. If you're creating thumbnails or you just want to email people stuff, you can create low resolution output. Okay? So let's see how this goes. And I may pause if it's taking too long so that you don't have to sit here and watch it grind. But here we go. So it's going to start with the blue background. Oh no, it's starting with the girl. I'm putting all the backgrounds on her. Okay, and then we'll do the bride with the same thing. Let's see. Okay, so I paused the system for a while so that we didn't have to watch them all grind through. But let's take a look at the output folder now. So here's the batch output. So you can see it did the Amber, the girl in the bathing suit, then it did the bride, and then it did Leo. So I'm going to delete all these again so we can see the next example. And I'm going to clear the background. Now, one thing I didn't talk about is this little checkbox here is keep checking for new files. So once it finishes the batch is finished, it stops. But if you keep checking for new files, then it will periodically check that folder and see if there's any new files to be processed. If it does, it processes it and keeps going. If it doesn't, it just goes to sleep and wakes up in a few seconds and checks again. So this is important for if you're doing a lot of batch work. I'm sorry, if you're doing some real-time things, and every time you click the shutter, you'd like the batch process to process the image. Okay? All right, so now let's talk about a hard one. Again, we talked about GSW files in the past, but right now you have the capability of putting multiple backgrounds and multiple images. But notice that's all you could do. It didn't change the text. It didn't change the overlays, things like that. So what you can do to achieve that is you can save GSW files and just, well, we'll review that in a second. But I saved 3 different GSW files. Basically, a GSW file is nothing more than a record of what created a given file. So I created this one with an overlay. I created this one, I said black and white, and here I put some text on it. And for your example, you might have a picture of a magazine cover and a normal picture and one in a garden. Whatever you really want to do, it's totally up to you, and you can put several in here. Okay? And then what it's going to do is it's going to take the foreground images in our foreground folder and combine it with all these settings. Okay. So let's review that. I'm sorry, let's review the fact that how you create a GSW file. Now, if you have this checked, if you have this unchecked, it will create. If you have it unchecked, it will create a GSW file. If you check it, it turns that capability off. But that's how you get the GSW files. So you go to Setup, and whenever you save, it'll just create one. All right, so now let's specify a folder with GSW files. This is all in the documentation, by the way. Go to My Documents, Green Screen Wizard, and I edit this GSW folder by hand. It's not part of the normal system. Okay, and we'll clear our history out, and we'll start our batch. And now what it's doing, see, is it's taking everyone and doing them all with the values in the first GSW file. Now it's going to put everybody in the crystal ball. And now it's doing everybody with some text. So basically you go off and have a smoke break or something. And now it's done. All right. So that's it for batch. Batch print, it's pretty simple. You basically set up your printer by picking a printer from the property, setting the properties you want, and just saying OK. And then you select a template. So let's say we're going to do 4 4x5s. Okay, and then the folder. So here we did sample photos, but let's change that and do our batch output as the folder. So now it'll print anything that goes in here. And now if we click clear history, if we click start print, it'll start to print. And when it prints 12 files, it'll stop. Okay? But if we click this watch for new images in folder, it'll stop, or it will not stop after the 12 are printed. It'll keep looking for more prints to do. So if we set the batch, keep checking for new files, and we set the batch print, keep checking for new files, and we have the camera attached to the computer with a tether, then every time you click the shutter, the camera will put a file in the input folder for batch. Batch will process it, put it in the output folder. The batch print system will see a new image and print it. So basically you have like a Polaroid camera. Every time you click the shutter, a print will print. Okay? So that's basically it for the batch printing features. I'm going to do a separate video on event mode. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. You can play with it in the demo. There's of course help files on each process. And thank you very much for your time.